Welcome to Talkin Business. I'm Joe Catrambone, CEO of the Stewart Martin County Chamber of Commerce, and it's my pleasure today to have Phil Huff with Focal Point Solution as our guest. And Phil, I'm going to read the opening paragraph I have, and then we'll expound upon the rest of your resume or your bio.
Okay.
So Phil is a seasoned CEO, executive coach, and entrepreneur with over 25 years of experience building, scaling, and advising companies across the technology, mortgage, and professional service industries. Now we got to talk about that. Okay. So, first of all, I always like to ask this question of my guests. What brought you to Stewart and Martin County? And when?
Well, my wife and I have always wanted to live in Florida. My godparents had a place here in Stewart. I used to come down and go to the beach a lot with them when I was a little tyke. And then as I got a little older, we had a few friends that relocated their businesses here and now live here. And we decided when we decided to come to Florida, why not Stewart? We know people there. It's a wonderful, quaint community, and there are hundreds of businesses just like the ones I focus on working with in the small business community. So it made perfect sense, and we made the jump about a year and a half ago.
From?
We were in Denver, Colorado, and so we also have a home in Denver that we love Denver, but now we love Florida more. So we'll probably be full timers here.
That's quite a difference in topography, climate, everything else, isn't it?
Yeah.
Was it traumatic or?
Culture shock?
Yeah, culture shock.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it was a little different, especially with the humidity in the summer that we have around here. It's quite a bit different than in Denver, Colorado. Denver, Colorado, the relative humidity is usually around 20%.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, in the summertime here, it's a little more spicy than that. But I tell you, wintertime here in Florida is just as wonderful as summertime in Denver. So I think it's a good mix between those two locations.
Yeah, I've never been to Denver, but it was my father's favorite city. I don't know why. My father traveled a lot.
Yeah.
And he loved Denver. He always spoke about the cleanliness.
Uh-huh.
And I guess the air is a lot different, I'm
It's
sure.
very clean, very, very dry.
Yeah. Well, and of course, at that time, my father lived in New Jersey, so we were in Jersey at the time. So it wasn't comparing Florida to Denver, but Jersey to Denver.
Right.
But my dad didn't really like Florida because he didn't like humidity.
We like Florida a lot.
Yeah,
I think we're going to be full timers here now.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I've been in Florida since '69. I've been in Stewart since '89. So
Okay.
I can't imagine living anywhere else.
We love it here.
Yeah.
And everyone's friendly. It's a great
it's
place
really
to live.
great.
Wonderful business community.
It's always, and that's one of the reasons I ask people, because we're such a little speck on the map.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get here? You
Yeah.
know? And it's so many of the questions. My grandparents were here and we visited, because it's just not for everybody. And I tell people who come into my office or are thinking about moving a business here, moving here, and it's not for everyone.
Right.
You know, we roll the sidewalks up at 9
Yeah,
o'clock.
that's
but you can drive down to Palm Beach 25 minutes. You party all
Right,
night.
right. Or go to Fort Lauderdale,
Yeah,
or go
yeah,
shoot
go
up to
further.
Orlando, or
Yeah,
fly out of
yeah.
whatever airport you want to
And
fly
it
out
is,
of.
and it's really a good location, because
Yeah.
you're right. We're 2 hours out of Miami, 2
Yeah.
hours out of Orlando.
Right.
The airport's 45 minutes away. You know, so it's really a great location. But it just always intrigues me how people
Yeah.
found out about it or how they got here.
Right.
But so many people say that they visited when they were a child.
Yeah.
And it was like me. I visited Fort Lauderdale when I was in the 6th grade, and I knew I was going to live in Florida
Yeah. Felt right.
someday.
Just
Yeah,
felt right.
yeah,
Yeah. That's the way
It
we
took me
felt
a
too.
little longer to get there.
Right.
But I mean, I got out of college and I moved to Florida.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to do. It's just a great place.
I waited a little longer than you did, so unfortunately.
Yeah. So, how many do you contract with a business to be their coach?
I do. So I've I've founded a couple businesses in my career and grown them and sold them, and had a lot of fun doing it. Employed hundreds and almost 1,000 people over my time, and I just love small businesses. I love the feel of a small business. It feels like a family, feels like a community, and I love watching that growth, watching people grow. And so about 5 years ago, I decided to step away from corporate America and do this full time. I started my consulting group, and I work with usually CEOs or CROs, heads of sales, or a founder or an owner, or sometimes board members. And I come in and work with the leaders of an organization to help them scale and help them grow. So we call that generally go-to-market strategies. How do they build up their sales team? How do they build up their sales plan, their strategy? And I work with companies essentially to help them grow, to get unstuck and help them grow. And so started doing that in Denver, Colorado. I work with about a dozen leaders nationwide now, a couple of them locally as well. And so work with those folks to help them grow their companies.
So many people, we talk about small businesses. That's what business in the United States is, small business.
Absolutely.
85% of businesses are considered small businesses. And that's what makes our economy.
Absolutely. Small businesses are the heartbeat of the U.S. economy.
Absolutely.
And I believe that I've lived it myself. So I know that with just a little bit better training and better tools and guidance, these small business leaders, most of them that have come out of a profession, right? Usually people that start a small business are good at doing their trade or their craft. And so they start a business around it. And then they realize that growing that business is more than just being good at that trade or that craft. And that's where they can find someone like me to come in who's done that before and can help them put the pieces in place and build the strategy for growing that company. And I believe that all small businesses have the potential to do that. Sometimes they just need a coach, an advisor, a mentor, someone to come in and consult and help move them in the right direction. So that's what I do.
So does a small business sign a contract with you and that you're on call when they need you? Tell me how that works.
Yeah, generally a small business, I meet them through either, usually a referral from another client or from a friend or from someone in my network. They introduce me to either a board member or an owner. We start having a conversation. We usually have 3 different conversations, ending with a structured business review where we talk details about their business. So I usually invest 3 to 4 hours in meetings with someone before I ever tell them what I believe I can do for them. And hopefully they've had a chance to get to know me, and we've worked together for 3 or 4 hours, and we decide we do want to work together. And then I present them with an overview of what that would look like and what I would focus on. And there's usually a monthly retainer, Joe, that goes along with that.
So, and then you're on call.
Oh yeah,
Basically.
they've got me on speed dial. Yep.
What do you, what issue do you deal with most in coaching a business? What is it? Financial? Is it management? Is it logistics?
Sure.
What's the main thing?
Scaling, growing. So I've
That's
got
a
a
good- well,
business
that's a
owner.
good thing.
Yeah, I've got a business owner that comes to me, and I work with a local company, for example, Stewart Photography, which is a prominent provider of services here in Stewart. And I've been working with Fred and the team there for about 3 or 4 months now, helping them put a plan in place to actually grow the business. Fred's great at what he does. He's one of the best headshot photographers in the nation. And so he just needed some help putting a plan in place for how to grow the business, how to contact more people, how to close more sales. And so we work on that. We have a weekly meeting, a 90-minute meeting, 60 to 90-minute meeting once a week. And then we talk 2 or 3 times throughout the week on items that we're working on together. And he might send me an email or a text, but that's generally how I work with my clients. They have me on retainer. They can reach out to me whenever they need me. Generally, that's a few hours a week tops that I work with them.
Do you get involved if what percentage do you find is financial?
I generally don't work with folks who strictly need financial help. I have people that I do work with in my network here in Stewart, who I can bring in to help with that. John Ryan's a good example. You know John. So folks like that I can bring in and work side by side with me on that project. But I don't work a lot with folks on the financial side of their business.
Do you Do you find that do you find that's an issue with a lot of, because I've always felt that unfortunately people go into a business and they're always underfunded.
Yeah,
They just don't un, they just don't understand. They've probably never done it before, and they don't realize that just one slip up can cost you whatever you've got in
sure.
reserves.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Now, funding investment is something that I do work with my clients on. I'll help point them in different directions and bring people to the table. Most of the investment that goes on with small businesses is done with seed level investors, right? Friends and family around the table. You don't get a lot of private equity folks, and that's where I've done most of my work with the private equity community investing. But yeah, folks that need to raise money to get their business off the ground, those are opportunities where I can help them structure a pitch deck, how to put together information on their company, how to work with small stage investors who to raise money. So, yeah, I do get involved with that.
So I notice here you've got e-links and Platinum Data Solutions. What are what? Tell me about them.
So those are two companies that I was involved in, startup phase companies, where we grew them from practically nothing in revenue to 8-digit exits, so substantial exits. We sold those companies. eLinks, it took us about 10 years to do that. We grew the company and had about 140 employees when we sold the business. And then Platinum Data was a little bit smaller. We had about a 20 person staff, and we sold that company as well in 2016. So those are two companies that I've grown what's called 0 to 1, right, from a startup phase to a healthy EBITDA positive business.
What did eLinks? What did eLinks do? What type of company was
It
it?
was mortgage technology.
Oh, it's
So
all mortgage. Okay.
both of those were mortgage
Okay.
technology. One of them was more valuations technology. Appraisers use the Platinum Data piece, but lenders also use it. Investors also use it. So we provide data and solutions. But both of those companies are what we call B2B SaaS companies, software as a service. So software we built on the web and made available to their clients on the web. So they were both fintechs.
One of the things that you mentioned is that you do workshops.
Uh huh.
What do you tell me about a workshop?
So once a month, I do a free workshop. We publicize it online, and we cover leadership topics, everything from time blocking to using AI in your business to scheduling effective one-on-one meetings to 360 reviews, all things that leaders have to focus on when they're leading teams or growing businesses. So I try to provide a good overview of these topics in these workshops. And we usually have 60 to 70 attendees come on
Really?
board on the webinar. Yeah.
Oh, so you do it on webinar.
Right. We do it all on Zoom. And so, yeah, it's a good sharing of information. We usually get a lot of questions from the audience, and I just started doing that a couple months ago. So the attendance is growing. We expect that to continue to grow over the weeks and months to come.
The rage everyone's talking about, and I know nothing about AI.
Right.
How prevalent is that right now, and where do you see that going?
Well, AI is involved in practically everything we do in business in one way or another, whether it's generating lead emails that we send out to our clients, whether it's automating calendar updates, or whether it's preparing documentation for one of my workshops or seminars that I'm doing. I use AI every day in my life, and most business leaders who are involved in tech do as well. So artificial intelligence is a general description of the use of machine learning. Machine learning is just using the horsepower behind a machine and the data that you feed into that horsepower, into that tech, to be able to automate preparing information and pulling information out of the computer.
How could me, as a CEO of the chamber, how can I incorporate, or how should I incorporate AI into our daily operations? You know what we do. Our main focus is to assist our members.
Right.
They have problems, or provide workshops and seminars and networking opportunities, which is the number one thing. It's amazing to me that so many of our members join for networking,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll get into that
Yeah.
in a minute. My reasoning for why I think of that. But how, is there? How would that help the chamber, help our members, and what would you suggest that we do to get involved in AI in the chamber?
Well, I think that there are a lot of applications that your people spend a lot of time doing today, manual time doing, that could be automated using AI tools that are out there and available today. And I think that could save your people a lot of time. That's one thing. The second thing it could do is help make connections that might not be self-evident today. So a lot of the data that you track from your website, from your CRM that you use, all that data can be assimilated into a fashion that AI could help you make sense of where those connections should be. So the CRMs that you use and the collection of data about all your people are nothing but data, ones and zeros. And the AI engine can take that and make much more sense of it than you can make on your own, just a human set of eyes looking at a screen. So I'd say there are a lot of automation things you can do, and there are a lot of relationship things that you can apply to the data that you have and the thousands of people you have in your database that could automate some of those communications and make them more effective. I use AI, for example, for all of my lead generation efforts. So I send out an email to each prospect on my list that I pull in from a database, but that email is not just a, hey Bob, my name is Phil, I provide these services, can we talk? Nobody answers those emails anymore. My emails are very personalized. They say, hey Bob, I noticed that you're in the flooring and tiling business. My company works with service companies like yours to help them grow revenue beyond where you are today. I'm also here in Stewart. Can we set up time to talk this week? Somebody's going to answer that email where they wouldn't answer the other email. So AI can add a lot of context to your communications and provide you a better pathway for dialogue with your constituents.
So how does one go about incorporating AI into their operation? Is there consultants? Are there? Or
Sure,
is
sure.
that
I would be somebody that could do that. And Amber and I and Amy and I have talked about that in the past. I think it's just a matter of it's in cycle right now, and they're working it through. And I think they'll pull in conversations with others like Angela and yourself, and we'll figure out how to breathe life into that. But I think it just takes sitting down and looking at the overall business. So one of the business meetings I mentioned to you earlier was my structured business review that I do with my clients. That's where we sit down and get deep into their operations, and we build a map on a whiteboard or in an electronic document of their business operations. And then we look at the different areas where we could apply AI and where we could apply technology in some of the things that they do today. And then we prioritize those based on business goals and strategies.
so? If how would AI help you as a chamber? If the chamber is into AI, how is that going to help you, or what's that going to do for you as a member?
Well, take a sidestep just for a moment and say one of the things I think that the Stewart Martin County Chamber can do to help its constituents is to hold sessions on AI, to give primers on AI. I put together an overview of how we might do that for the Stewart Martin County Chamber members, and I think that would be a good thing to breathe
Great.
life into down the road.
I'm all in.
Yeah, where we have everyone in there and we have, hey, we're going to learn about the basics of AI, how to tie it into your LinkedIn, how to tie it into your CRM, all those things, just the basics. And I think you start there and then you see if there's interest, you do a follow-up survey and see if there's interest in taking the next step and doing a more advanced session. And that's the kind of thing that I think you can do. That should always be step one, education.
Could you just guesstimate? Because I can't. But could you guesstimate out of 1,500 members how many would just at the top of your head would you think are involved in AI? 10%, 20%, 50%, 100%?
Just a guess, I would say maybe 30%, maybe a third.
Okay. Yeah.
And when you say involved in AI, there's a lot of different tiers you can go to that. Where everyone starts is using a service called ChatGPT, which is the OpenAI platform that everyone uses on the web. You could go there today when you get home, type in chatgpt.com. It gives you a prompt and says, how can I help you? And you simply say whatever you want to say. I need to create an Excel spreadsheet that does this and this and this. Boom. Okay, it brings it up on your screen. It's a very, very helpful tool, and it's mainly where everyone starts. And then from there, you start learning about other tools and applications that are out there. The challenging thing about the AI space today is that if we have a meeting tomorrow and I give you the top 10 AI applications that people are using, that list will change in a month. And it'll change again in 2 months. It's a very rapidly changing landscape.
Yeah, that's the nature of the
Yeah.
world we live in
Yeah,
today.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
daily,
Yeah, you're
hourly.
right. It is. It is. But I think it's still inherent. It's up to us to make sure that we're at least keeping tabs on the space and knowing where we can use it. There are some standards in there, right, that you should incorporate into your day-to-day activities. It can
Well,
save you a lot of time.
I'm glad that I had no idea you were talking to Amy and Amber about it, but I'm glad because we need to pursue that. And
Yeah.
so, so we'll definitely we need to go there.
Good. I
So,
agree.
Okay, we're winding down. Anything we missed?
I don't think so. I believe in the power of small business, and I believe we've got a great community here in Stewart, and would love to find ways to reach out and touch more. I've got a few clients I work with today, and would love to make that a dozen or so by the end of the year.
Great. Thank you.
Thank
for
you,
your
Joe.
time.
I appreciate
it.
you.
Thanks.